More alliance-based energy for players. Reduced AQ timers for energy. That's good news. Do you like this? I'm going to get into a bit of trouble with this, I think. Now, if you're interested, the post will probably be on the forums, which I'll put a link to in the description down below. But I'm going to basically deep dive a lot of this and as well kind of cast my own opinions and thoughts. And something to really point out, obviously, this was something that we had an idea of from the CCP point of view last week. But there was a lot of things and discrepancies which weren't being taken into consideration. And as well, there's a lot of things that with this particular dev diary, there's some things to pick up on, which I think is going to be quite important moving forward. And yeah, as I said, I'll put my own opinions and thoughts processes into this video as well. First thing, straight off the bat, you're going to see some improvements to the way that you organize your Alliance War and Alliance Quest. Obviously, be that more for, say, Alliance Wars officers or kind of like battle groups and things like that. That's going to be something of a good tool and should actually be live today in the update, which is obviously great news. And Alliance Wars is going to be something that we come back to talk on, whether or not it's something that I feel that should be completely washed from the game and something that looks like there may be plans to do that in the future. Something that obviously officers have been screaming out for a while is to keep their battle groups organized as to what they're up to, assigning paths and other things like that. However, though, when it comes to like some further improvements and just making sure that it's more organized for alliance-based participation in Alliance Quest or Alliance Wars, the fact is, it looks like it's not going to be really put in place until the end of the year. So at the end of the year, a lot of the officer quality of life improvements won't actually fit in. Some even kind of looking here with the codename AQ officer. So remove the monotonous tasks that the Alliance leadership is expected to do. We're working on features that will allow you to set up the next round of Alliance quests for all 3 battle groups ahead of time, which is something that can't be put in until 2021, which is wow, that's a little way off for this. So obviously Kabam have got other development ideas that they want to put in place first for that alliance-based experience. Obviously, this is a very telling sign as to something that we were discussing in the podcast yesterday. The idea that, you know, Kabam have gone too far, and I don't mean a case like, oh, they've gone too far, but it's a case when you kind of create something, you kind of do it in a sense that you maybe have blinkers on. Obviously, when horses run, they run with blinkers on, so they don't really take into consideration other things, and they concentrate on one particular goal, which is to constantly keep going. And the same thing with Kabam. It's like going like, right, well, what they've been doing, if theoretically, has been like, okay, content done, let's make some new content. And it's like satisfying a lot of the end game players, but not looking at the fundamentals. And I think that's the problem with looking at this year, is that Kabam have to now, in the last 6 months of the year, take a load of steps backwards in order to make steps forwards, because effectively they're going to have to like look at so many areas to improve their game, which obviously hence the roadmaps. But the process of doing this seems to be a little bit more slower than I think a lot of players would like to have seen. And for myself, like, I do see that it would have been nice to have a lot of this stuff like last year or the year before, especially with the addition of things like map 7. But you know, we've got to look forward, I guess. Now, Kabam talk right here about Season 19. There's a little bit of an admission to say that, look, you know, we made a mistake when it comes to the way that it was delivered. And yes, it was actually made months ago. But here is the concern, obviously, that it doesn't really take into consideration what players have been saying for a while. And as well, still going back to that same narrative of going like, they're not designed to be 100% completed in Alliance Wars. But that is the biggest problem, that still players will exponentially spend on resources in order to do it, because it's so pivotal to win an Alliance War. And that's just the thing. With Alliance War seasons, you theoretically dangle a carrot, which is us going, right, well, we want to get those rewards. We will literally grind for a month. We'll get stressful about it, but that's the emphasis. We have to win. If you don't win, you drop down the tiering, or you drop down the means to kind of ramp up your multiplier and other factors as well. War rating dropping and so many other things that will literally affect it. If you go, oh, we don't want as Alliance to win this war, then theoretically you're literally going, right, well, I don't We as Alliance don't want any more shards to then get more champions to make Alliance Wars better for us from a defensive angle, from diversity and as well rarity and things like that. And at the same time, we don't want to put in the effort for seasons, which obviously that is the narrative to be pushed for that. So that's the disappointing side of things when it comes to Season 19. The kind of reasons for putting in Season 19 in any case, which I don't know if it was overly a good idea to do, and maybe they should have waited until they're ready to do a bigger update and proper refresh for Alliance Wars, because this just doesn't work. But for the time being, Kabam have said they will make changes to some of the nodes and the buffs. Now, there's some further points about Season 19 that are raised above here, talking about the rewards. However, though, because I don't agree with the structure point of the reward system, and as well many things when it comes to different areas, I'm just going to focus on what Kabam has said about addressing the current situation when it comes to Season 19. Now, they have said there are a few things that are looking into, from here addressing and adjusting difficulty tuning for local buffs and defense tactics quicker, and as well players are unable to practice against specific champions in Alliance Wars in an environment, right the way through to the cost of wars, high on the competitive nature of seasons and map difficulty, and many other things as well. However, yeah, I just don't feel in the grand scheme of things I can naturally support what they're doing for Alliance Wars, and that is why I want to see massive change to a point of Alliance Wars needs to go full stop. But I'm not going to completely doom and gloom this, because if Kabam say that they're going to be in the future looking over Alliance Wars and dramatically changing it, then that is going to be a good thing. But not necessarily I agree with the way its construct has been very helpful to players from a stress level, load level. And yeah, there are going to be people out there that really enjoy Alliance Wars in the current format. You're a bit mad, but you know, there are going to be people out there that enjoy it the way that it is. But for me personally, from somebody that wants to devote some time to their own personal life stuff and not having ties towards champions in certain content, then it would be something I'd look forward to seeing more of a dramatic change. This center point is probably the most thing that needs to be addressed moving forward, and that is advance in warfare. With our current season structure, losing a single war, even a single fight, can have a dire consequence for the individual and the entire alliance. Losing a single war shouldn't feel like you've lost out on the season. Adding progression for both individual players and alliances will provide a positive feedback even if a war is lost. That is the key thing for me that needs to be addressed. Something where one person's just mistake for whatever reason shouldn't feel like they're, number one, inadequate, and second thing is cost their other 29 mates the loss for season, which theoretically in some cases could be the difference between somebody being in Platinum 4 and they just have to settle for Gold 1. The same thing maybe for someone that's in Master, Alliance in Master, and then drops down to Platinum 1. The same problem, different places in the game. And also not to forget the fact that there's going to be some really decent players in alliances, and they should be rewarded as well for their decent efforts of obviously being, you know, the war hero. And that's something that Kabam are going to look into in the future. Now, for those out there that are high end and do a lot of map 7, Kabam are going to get you covered when it comes to some rebalancing and changing, which I think is incredibly fair for those that put in so much effort on a weekly basis to get map 7 done. Now, something that is a most needed change, and especially after a lot of this game down situation of yesterday and the weekend, the fact is energy needs to change, and the way that we have more is very, very important. Now, I think this is just Alliance Quest so far, and it would be nice to see this in Alliance Wars. So first and foremost, there's energy cap increase. We're increasing the Alliance Quest energy cap globally from 5 to 6. And your starting energy will start at 4 rather than 3, which is going to be pretty incredible and will largely mean that certain Alliance Quest groups are able to get that first boss down and start exploring into certain areas. Now for time zones, that could be amazing. Amazing because you've made so much progression at a very early start, and as well, you're going to be allowing that your champions will be released sooner. And it especially gets a little bit better with 45-minute timers now for energy refreshes. As I said, this would have been like something quite cool to put into stuff like Alliance Wars as well. I know that the weekend's a bit of a different stage of things. When I decide to put Alliance Wars over a weekend, or the opportunity to do an Alliance Wars over a weekend, it's a difficult one because a lot of people will try and take some time away from the game just to relax, maybe play some other games and just chill out and get that quality of life back. So it would have been nice to see some of this when it came to Alliance Wars. But Alliance Quest is very important and is probably a lot more, well, I'd say enjoyable than Alliance Wars. So yes, I think that this, the focus is good there, especially with the energy that you gather and get. But the fundamental thing that improves things is champion availability. Which, let's face it, if you put your strongest champions into grind out Alliance Quest, which when you reach stuff like map 5, map 6 and map 7, more to do with like the high end side of things, you're ultimately using your best champions or best configurations in order to get through that content. So here's the thing, if they're then finished earlier in Alliance Quest, then it means that they're going to be available for you to then use in other content, which is going to be great for, say, planning out your weekends, planning out, say, other times where you want to have those champions to do things like maybe Abyss of Legends, Labyrinth of Legends, Act 6, and so many other new bits of content that will require your best champions in order to do it. But also, one other good thing is that link nodes are going to be removed. So as you can see, removing the first set of link nodes for map 6 and 7s and restructuring the map 6 link nodes to flow more like map 7. Which is great. That's a nice little addition for Kabam to put in, especially for those, again, just talking about this quality of life, waiting for link nodes to be taken down. I move later on after I've done live streaming. Other players will move very quickly. So therefore, they're not waiting for me and I'm not waiting for them. And I think that's going to be something that's going to be relatively cool. Okay, next up we've got something that's kind of like got some wishy-washy dates behind it. And as well, I don't know if I overly agree in the fact that we've got too many types of season type things. But the quality of life side of things is the most important thing with it. So Alliance Quest seasons. So yeah, I don't know where the future lies when it comes to stuff like this. And the idea that we've got seasons for Alliance Wars, that do we need something like this for Alliance Quest? Is the sequencing as effective as it should be? Well, Kabam want to put in something, and again, it's very, as I said, wishy-washy. Don't know really what's to make of this, but it says here, seasons don't really make sense in their current state, so we are looking to revamp them and what they mean to you. Seasons that fit into your life and don't clash with other seasonal content. Seasonal content that creates unique internal Alliance gameplay and not pitting Alliance against each other. I don't know if that's the case. They take out the rank kind of like rank wars of things, but to be honest, I don't see that really being much of a thing. I don't think people go for bragging rights with Alliance Quest anymore, as it's just not the thing. Even Alliance Wars has gone away from the old bragging rights of old. It's now a case of like gifting event. It used to be the thing. Right, but also there's other stuff as well, like Alliance Quest challenges they're looking to put in, cooperation, and as well as diversifying, say, the way that champions are used, which is going to be good, but I'm sure that a lot of players would want to see them battling with certain champions. So whether or not they empower a node improve, but it's saying here that champion diversity they may look to put in as well. So yeah, I don't know really what to make of this. It's still very early on and there's no release date or any kind of scheme to things. So we'll have to see. Now for the thing I'm most excited about, and that is raid bosses and how this will really work with, well, an alliance. Now here's the thing. I like the idea, but I like it as a replacement for either Alliance Quest or Alliance Wars. Now the reason I like raid bosses or raiding system as a replacement to either Alliance Quest or Alliance Wars, it's just basically to put something fresh into the game and take off something that's been there for 5 years and put it something new, something that shakes the boundaries, shakes the ideas of alliance-based cooperation, because that's one of the main things and something that was really lacking from this particular dev diary was the idea that, well, are there any more like events, like more than those 3-day events like villain use? Is there something that could bring an alliance together, like little kind of micro events, and something where you're able to earn rewards similar to stuff in the past? And yes, that's the case. I do agree that there are many other things like villain use in game, there's summoner advancement, but as well there's not something unique, weird or different that allows you as an alliance to go, hey guys, we're going to be focusing on this or this. Something that allows, it's like a team building exercise. And yes, you've got your alliance quest and your alliance wars, but when those things aren't fun, then you need something fun to then bring there that allows you as an alliance to feel, hey, we're participating together, we're fun, we're having fun, we're unified a little bit more. And maybe that's what this will be. But the fact is, it's still some way off to actually getting together. But the idea that you can go off against one big boss could be quite cool, a quite cool thing. Now finally, there's 3 things to cover, and that is going to be the link nodes rework and rewarding players for interacting with link nodes, and whether or not there's like mini challenges available. That would be quite cool for those that are obviously gung-ho and obviously working quite well. Also, undo buttons for people that make mistakes, which I think is a kind of a cool addition if Kabam can do it and put it in. And finally, launching in September is the Help All button, which is going to be brilliant, a brilliant little addition to the game. And yeah, fantastic. That's something of a bit of a good news in this particular roadmap. At the end of the day, my thoughts on this is that there's a lot of good things, but also there's a few bad things as well. The good things being that I love the Help All button, I love the undo button idea, and as well so many things when it comes to Alliance Quest. Those quality of life improvements are going to be amazing, and especially with that game down situation yesterday would have like really helped out for something like this. And it's great to know that that's going to be in July. However, though, the first thing for me is that seeing not more of a push for emphasis on alliance-based participation from an event. Because that's the thing, you know, we had like events in the past. I'm not saying like gifting event, but we've had similar events like that that require, you know, alliance-based participation. I want to say there was something like some sort of Valor type thing in the past. But there's been very little times where you as an alliance are working together for something, and whether or not you do that with like some type of target system, you do it with a new type of event, like you got villain use, yeah, you got this 3-day event, but something new, something that maybe lasts for 1 week, similar to Summoner Advancement. And Summoner Advancement would be something that should have seen like a rewards bump in any case, from what kind of effort that players put in. But it's mainly for me all about Alliance Wars. And Alliance Wars is something that I still don't wrestle with as a good idea. I'm sure there's still people that absolutely love it and may even like some of the changes or ideas that are coming in. If the raiding system was to replace Alliance Wars, or well, not Alliance Quest because it could be made better, and it looks like Kabam got an idea, maybe more towards changing Alliance Wars for the raiding system. But here's the thing, if they want to keep Alliance Wars, then saying that it shouldn't be 100%ed I don't think is a wise idea. Because if they're going to do something where, look, there's an emphasis to get less deaths, go through it, get the season rewards, then theoretically you're working towards something. So if you're working towards just constantly not finishing maps, then you're constantly losing. And if you're constantly losing, then that's part of the problem. That's not going to allow you as an alliance to win the decent season rewards, which theoretically you've got to do. And if that's dependent on node placement, defense tactics, and troublesome diversity and defense champions that are going to just mess you around, then that's not fun. That's not fun at all. And that's the main thing, is creating quality of life and fun when it comes to this game, which I don't know if that would do ongoing, but we'll have to see. In any case, thank you very much for watching this video. Make sure to check out some content up here, which is probably the Marvel Contest of Champions news. And also on the far end, I don't know, there's probably another video that's equally important. Check out some other content down there. And yeah, I'll see you all very soon. I love this. This is great. Sorry, Mjolnir. I think you've got a replacement.